Hi. So we're going to do some trivia to introduce our amazing speaker. We have some awesome prizes, so if you get the right answer, whoever gets the first right answer for each question can come up and pick a prize. We have a s'mores maker, an art kit, a water bottle, a speaker, a fun fact book, which there's actually some really good fun facts in it, and a yoga mat that you can use on Sunday at Holy Yoga. So just saying, if you need one, you can win one. All right, so the first trivia question is, before working in undergrad admission, what department did Amanda work in? You in the tie. You're correct. I don't know if that's considered cheating, because you work in that department. Oh, okay. Wait, what's his name? The s'mores maker is microwavable safe, so for all my dorm friends, I did it. Ooh, yeah.
Okay, the next question is, what 3 states has Amanda moved between?
New England-ish states? That's a hint? Ish.
Yep.
One of the states, their football team starts with a P.
And the other state we are currently in. So there's one more.
So you just need one more state. That's a New England-ish state. If you name one. Yeah. Yeah. Woo. Yay. Pick a prize, any prize. The art kit. Woo. I don't know how to read this question, I'm sorry. What does Amanda hold a bachelor's in? Any guesses? We offer it here. Well, any college you could take it at, but we do it here. Anyone that knows me, it's my major. Yikes. No one wants to guess? You can win a s'mores maker.
It's a 2-word major, if that's a
And
hint.
I was about to say, give it away for a second.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Ryan. What? No. Yes, you, in the back. Yes! Come pick a prize. Yay. Amy knows me.
Okay, the next question is, how many books did Amanda read in 2015? It's a lot.
It's a big number. Well, it's not a triple-digit number, but it's a big number.
More than 50.
Little
Less than
less.
that.
You'll get if you get it within 5 on either side. A little less. You can do it because you're within the 5 on each side. You get the prize. It was 56. Yay. What is Amanda's summer hobby? Anyone want to take a guess? You can, I don't know how to give a hint for this one. It involves,
Outdoors.
yes. Yes, Amy. Probably a hobby, but not the answer that we put down. Anyone want to take a guess? No, but it is outdoors. You can, yes. Yes, yay! You can pick a prize. Gardening. You should pick the fun, Annie, you should pick the fun fact book and create a new jar. Ooh! Yay! All right, good job, guys. Congrats to the winners.
Hi everyone, I'm now going to introduce Amanda. So Amanda Wagner is the Assistant Director of Transfer Admissions at Sacred Heart University and will be chatting with us about her journey with belonging, spirituality, and social justice. She's going on to her 6th year at Sacred Heart, 3 years in residential life in both Merton and Roncalli halls, but made the switch over to undergraduate admissions. She received her bachelor's in political science from Western New England University and a master's in higher education administration, which is what ignited her fire to advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion work. Prior to Sacred Heart, she worked at a community college in Syracuse and was in residential life at Fordham University in the Bronx.
Some fun facts about her is that she completed a book challenge in 2015, reading 56 books in 1 year, and obviously this makes her a very avid reader. And thanks to less socializing during COVID-19, she's read 45 books so far this year. She loves to cook, and her favorite meal to prepare is risotto. And gardening is one of her favorite summer hobbies, and she has an abundance of green beans this year. Amanda is originally from Dartmouth, Mass, and has moved around Massachusetts, New York, and Connecticut over the last 10 years. Amanda now lives in Trumbull with her life partner, Jeff, and their daughter, Peyton Quinn. Peyton is 3 years old and was the youngest resident of Roncalli Hall in 2017 and 2018. Once we can travel again after the pandemic, she wants to go to a beach with super soft sand, beautiful waves, and no cell service. And now I'm going to hand it over to Amanda.
All right. Does that work? Yes? Oh, perfect. Great. I am not at all nervous at all. Perfect. I just got to get this figured out with my earrings so that way it doesn't fall off. Perfect. Great. Hi, everyone. Oh, good. I was nervous that nobody was going to say hi back. So with social distancing, sometimes it gets a little quiet. And so that's the reason why I just wanted to check in and make sure you guys were all here with me. So tonight I am going to do more talking about myself than I think I have ever done in one sitting, which is very vulnerable. So hopefully I can remember everything for you, and I can kind of shed some themes for you that I think is really important when we're talking a little bit about belonging and social justice and my personal experience with both of those and how spirituality has really connected all of that together for me. So my intro already told you a little bit about me in terms of being here at Sacred Heart for 6 years now. I can't believe it's been 6 years. It's been 6 wonderful years that has blessed me with an amazing community. I'm currently the Assistant Director of Transfer Admissions. That is a new role. And I'm like really proud of that because I really love working with our transfer students here on campus. Prior to that, I was in residential life, so Merton and Roncalli Hall. Roncalli Hall is going to forever hold a place in my heart because that is my daughter's first home. And so that definitely means a lot to me. Sacred Heart in general means a lot to me since my daughter was also baptized here. So we have a lot of connection to this chapel. We have a lot of connection to the community that is established here, and so Sacred Heart is really, really powerful for me. I also am an FYE instructor, so that's also some fun facts too. I really enjoy that aspect of things too. In terms of teaching, it's really, really fun. So my identity, I identify as Latina. I am also cisgender female, which means that my gender and my sex align. I also am first generation Christian. So first generation meaning my mom is from Costa Rica, but I'm also first generation in regards to education. So I'm the first in my family to go to college, let alone get a degree. Now granted, my dad did get his degree a couple of years after me. He said, well, if my kids can do it, I can do it too. And he went back to school, so that was really great. Shout out, Dad. So I am going to talk to you a little bit about my journey with belonging, spirituality, and social justice throughout my time. So I think what's a really good starting point to kind of have that conversation is how I grew up. And so in my household was between my mom, my dad, my sister, and myself, and we were raised Roman Catholic. And it was more from my mom's influence than it was from my dad. My dad believed in God and he believed in faith, but he had a lot of questions. And I think that he's still a part of his faith journey today. And I think that that's important, is that you're always on your faith journey no matter where you are in your life. And so I think he is still trying to figure out what that means for him. But my mom was huge into the religion. We always went to Sunday Mass. We prayed together as a family. But within her Roman Catholicism and being from Costa Rica, saints was huge in our household. So when she lost her keys, did she blame herself? No. We had to pray to St. Anthony for those keys, and it wasn't me that found them, it was St. Anthony that found those keys. So we had that a lot in our household growing up. And I ended up going to CCD. I also went to a Catholic school growing up as well. And throughout that time, I struggled a little bit in education, finding that sense of belonging, but I always found it in the church. The church that I was a part of, St. Julie's in Dartmouth, was a very welcoming church. They wanted their youth to be a part of everything. And I thought that was fantastic because I was a part of the youth. So I wanted to be in everything that I could. So I went to CCD every Sunday and I learned about the values of my religion. And I learned about the importance that you should be loving God and that God loves you in return. God loves you no matter what. But I also learned about the respecting of your elders. I learned about loving your neighbor and caring about your community and giving back and counting the blessings that you have and being able to give to those that don't. And I learned that at a young age, and I loved it. We did volunteer work as a family. We would go into running different things for the church, whether it was fairs or carnivals that we were running, different things for the community in general. As I got older through the church, I got involved in different ways. So I became a Eucharistic minister. I became a lecturer. I taught CCD. And then I also joined the Ladies Guild. I was the youngest member of the Ladies Guild at 16. The next youngest member was my mom. So it was very interesting. Anything to do with technology, that was my task. But I joined it because my mom wanted to be a part of it. And my mom didn't feel like she could. Not because of her connection to the church. That was not what was in question. I don't think she does, but my friends told me that she does. She does have an accent, and English is her second language. And I think that for her, joining an organization was very stressful for her, of whether or not she would be judged and what that would look like. And my mom's my best friend, so of course I was like, it's a piece of cake, Mom, we'll do it together. And then I went there and I realized no one's my age, but we stuck around and we did it together. And it was a really great experience for the last 2 years that I was in high school until I went off to college. So that's a little bit about my childhood in regards to religion, but during high school, I took AP World History. Anybody else took AP World History in school? Yeah, woo, yeah. So I took AP World History because I loved history. I even took US History AP, and if there was another one, I would do that too. But they only had those two offerings. And AP World History, the way that they structured that course was based on religion. And the way that they ended up talking about it was the development of religion and about when those religions came about and creating this sense of commonality amongst religions. And it was really fascinating for me because I think that was the first time that I started to think about whether or not I was truly Roman Catholic. And I wasn't questioning my faith because all of the values that I described before were ingrained in every part of my being. But I wondered whether or not it was true that I was Roman Catholic or if I was Christian, and does it make a difference on which box I check? I couldn't give you that answer when I was 16. I had to think about it. There was also a lot of things happening in the world at that time. That was about 2006, 2007. And during that time, I remember, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if it was that it was more prevalent or whether or not I became more aware of things because of my age. There was a lot of talk in the news about the LGBT community. And it made me start wondering, well, how are all of these people who are very vocal and they say that they're Christians and they say that they're Catholics, but they're passing so much judgment? And I don't understand why. And I started questioning those things. And I started, for some reason, at that time, I started connecting that these most vocal people were supposed to be these representatives of this religion, when in reality, they weren't. They were just one person in that role, right? I started questioning that because my uncle, who at the time during like my middle school and high school years was pretty influential for me. He was the person that got me, that understood my personality and understood why I wasn't connecting to kids in school. And he used to live in LA. So he would come in and he would come home with glow sticks and he would have gone clubbing or doing whatever it was that he was doing. He's like, Amanda, these are the new dance moves. And we'd be in my living room dancing with glow sticks. And I thought he was the bee's knees. I thought he was great. But I also knew that he was gay. I knew that he identified in the community. And for me, being Catholic and having such a strong Catholic upbringing, but having such a close connection to somebody in a community that I'm seeing a disconnect, I got very confused. And I didn't understand, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, I love my uncle with all of my heart. Now, what am I supposed to do with my religion, and how does this intersect? So in reality, I kind of just took a step back and let them be two separate things. I don't know if that was the right call in my mind, but at the time, my maturity level didn't have me reflecting on that enough. I didn't have the venues to be able to go and do that. So I'm gonna skip a little bit forward now into, actually, I gotta talk a little bit more about my belonging issues there. So when I was talking about belonging, I kind of mentioned this a little bit about how my uncle was a pretty big influence in terms of understanding that I wasn't connecting in school, and he would talk to me through it and give me advice and tell me that it wasn't anything that I was doing wrong. And I attributed a lot of my belonging to the fact that I moved a lot as a kid. So before the age of 13, I moved 5 different times. And I attributed to me connecting with other people to the fact that I just moved a lot. And I was like, oh, no one's on AIM, nobody wants to message me, no one wrote me any letters, because at the time we did not have texting and we did not have Facebook, and things were a lot harder to communicate with. And that's what I attribute it to. But in reality, now that I am a little bit older, I started reflecting a little bit more about what that looks like. I realized when I was in Catholic school, which is grades 1 through 4, I only went for the first 4 years of elementary education. I realized that when I would go to school and I'd be really excited and I talked to my friends about things that I was doing at home, sometimes I got some weird looks. For example, I've been asked before when I was in school, like, oh, let's talk about like what you're doing for the holidays, what are you gonna do for New Year's Eve? And I go and I explain what our traditions are for New Year's Eve. And all of a sudden people are like, you do what? My traditions, by the way, is that in the Costa Rican culture, we eat 12 grapes at midnight. And the 12 grapes are supposed to signify the 12 hours, but it's also supposed to signify 12 wishes and like blessings that you are looking for the upcoming year. And We always ate them at midnight. Then we gave each other all our kisses. And then my mom would get up immediately, go to her bedroom, get her luggage, and walk around the house with the luggage because she wanted to travel that year. So there's a lot of Latin culture that we had in our household. Not just the fun traditions that I laugh at now that I'm like, maybe I should, carry some luggage around this year so I can travel. But there's other traditions too. We celebrate Three Kings Day. And when I tell people that we get a present on Three Kings Day, and that what the point of the holiday is, people are like, oh, you get extra presents? I'm like, you're missing the point. That's not what we're celebrating. We're celebrating that the three kings found Jesus. Like, that is what we're trying to celebrate. And the gift concept is just what the kings ended up bringing to Jesus. It's just a symbol. It's not meant to be that, yay, I got more presents, even though as a 6-year-old, of course, I was excited. I was like, yay, more presents! So what I realized at a young age is that I needed to be one person at home and one person at school. And for folks that have heard this before, that term is called code switching. And I started code switching at a really young age, and I started to push aside my Latin culture. And so when it came to talking about things at school, and we talked about like, oh, what are some popular foods at home, or what are your favorite foods, I would always resort to something that was more common. And I didn't talk about the different things that were happening at home. I didn't talk about my favorite time of the year was actually spring cleaning. Do not tell my mom that. She will definitely have me come home every spring cleaning now. But it really was, because spring cleaning wasn't a chore in our house. She would put on music and we would be dancing around. I'd have a bandana in my hair, feather dusters everywhere, and we are dancing around cleaning the whole house together. And it was an activity together that we just celebrated with each other. And it might seem really simple for this conversation, but when I talked to friends about it, they just thought it was weird. They're like, why were you cleaning? And why do you think that's fun? Well, it's what my mom thought was fun. And my mom's my best friend, and that's what we do. Like, my family is everything to me, and that's kind of what it is. So I learned about the concept of code switching and being different people. And once I started being different people, I started realizing that I wasn't authentically myself. And I started wondering, the people that I was making connections with, do they truly like me, or do they like the person that I'm portraying? And I didn't outgrow that until I went to college. And I didn't outgrow that because every town that I lived in was predominantly white. And so even when I was growing up, I grew up speaking 2 languages, but I got confused early on. So the teacher actually told my mom, you need to stop speaking Spanish at home. And so she did, because she got nervous. And so now I can't speak it fluently. I can understand it, but I can't speak it fluently. And I could definitely understand it because my mom would speak to me when I was in trouble. If my room was disgusting, it was cochina puerca, which is just a filthy pig. And so that's what you were called in the house if you were leaving your room a mess. And it's like, my bed wasn't made. It wasn't that bad, but she needed things a certain way. But when I went to college, college was wonderful. It was the best 4 years of my life. But it started off not being that way. It started off actually feeling incredibly alone, but in the middle of a crowd. I joined a pre-fall, well, something similar to a pre-fall program, and I thought I met some really, really cool people. And at the moment, we connected because it was just us on campus. But then once everybody else got to campus, things started to shift a little bit. And I started realizing that I am feeling really disconnected and I don't know why. One of the things that drew me out of that disconnectedness was that I got an email that said that there was going to be Mass on Sunday. And I was like, you know what, I need to go. Something told me that I just needed to go. And so I went. Granted, they also said that they were going to have nice warm cookies, so I was sold. So I was like, all right, well, I got to go. Like, maybe it's going to be similar to my church. And so I went. And I met some amazing people, some compassionate people. ones that were just trying to get to know you and didn't judge you. And they obviously invited me for the next week, but they also said, like, if you can't make it, that's okay. Just let us know, and maybe you can stop into the luncheon we're having. And it was really great, and it was judge-free, and I felt at peace going. I actually met my life partner at Mass. We would then, throughout the 4 years, we would go to Mass every Sunday together. But at that first Mass, I met a group of people and the campus minister, and they asked whether or not I wanted to be involved in a new initiative that they were doing. They were creating something called a Newman Club. So a Newman Club is an organization that a college or a university would create that helps unify students to talk a little bit more about faith and talking about the intersection of their faith in their lives and to explore that more. Sometimes you would read scripture and analyze it together, and I was all for it. I was like, yes, this is great. I'd be happy to do this. And so I joined them, and I wrote up the Constitution for them. I looked at UMass Amherst because I knew they had one, and I looked at what they did, and I was already benchmarking at like 18. I was like made for admissions by then. So I ended up taking all of that, made it what it was, but I didn't want a leadership role yet because I was nervous. But the person who did get the leadership role didn't really want me to be a part of it. And they would have meetings and not tell me, so then I wouldn't be able to attend. When I could find out, because I ran into somebody on campus and they told me, are you going to the meeting tonight? I'm like, I didn't know. Of course I'm going to go. I would rearrange my schedule and then make it there. And if I offered any opinions, the president would constantly shut me down and say that that's not being a true Catholic and that's not what we believe in. And then I started taking another step back away from religion because I thought I was getting closer and I thought I was finding people, but I started getting pushed back again. And I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what to say. I continued going to Sunday masses, but the campus minister that was a part of that didn't step in and say anything. Instead, she just said, oh, I'm so sorry that you can't make it anymore. They told me that you're not interested anymore. I was like, no, it wasn't that I'm not interested. But I also didn't want to pick a fight. And so I was like, no, it's okay. It's not that I'm not interested, but like, it's all right, don't worry about it. I'll still be here for Sunday masses, it's okay. I should have used my voice and I should have spoken up, but I didn't. Because I started realizing the stuff that they were critiquing wasn't specifically about the religion. They were critiquing the different ways that my mom and the Latin community viewed the religion. And I felt very isolated because I was the only person of color in the Newman Club. And I didn't understand why. And I just attributed it to, again, my lack of being able to connect. But it really wasn't. It wasn't about connecting at all. It was about the fact that I was trying to be my authentic self, and my authentic self wasn't enough, or I didn't feel like it was enough. Throughout college, I had an amazing experience because I worked a bunch of jobs on campus. I worked in the campus events office. I worked as a student ambassador in the undergraduate admissions office. I gave tours on the weekends. I also worked as a resident advisor, but I also was a part of the Resident Hall Association. I founded the National Residence Hall Honorary. I did all of these fun things. I met my life partner my freshman year. I ended up meeting my best friend who's also like my sister my sophomore year. It was amazing. The only regret that I have is that I didn't take the opportunity to explore my identity enough. I kept stepping back. I kept letting what people thought of me influence my authentic self. When I decided to go to Syracuse for my master's, that's when I started understanding identity and the impact that identity plays in everything that we do. I started analyzing, part of that program is about identity development and understanding how during your years in college, you grow and change so much. And so we learned a lot about like the Black identity and how that impacts. We learned about theory within white identities. We learned about the LGBT community and how best to be able to meet their needs while we're in a higher education setting. And we also understood that all of these social justice concepts and all of these identities are ever changing, which requires you to continue your learning. And I loved it because I learned a lot more about myself. And in that program, I met an amazing friend that connected me back to my faith. She also was a Christian, and there was a moment in our studies about identity that we were talking a little bit about our religious involvements, and some folks were putting out pretty strong stereotypes about Christianity in general, and she stood up and defended her religion. And I sat back and I was like, those are all really interesting takes, and how come I haven't done this before? And so I stood up with her and I started talking about it as well and being able to insight people, because sometimes what ends up happening is that people make a judgment call on a religion based off of what they hear on the news or what they see on social media, but it might not be an accurate portrayal of what somebody truly believes in. And so her and I bonded really well. We would meet all the time to be able to go over, obviously, homework and such, but we would pray together. We would share meals together. We would talk about our faith, maybe bring up scripture when we're really struggling and I was missing home and I was missing Jeff, who's my life partner. We were 6 hours apart, and she's like, let's pray together and let's read. And we would do that and give each other that peace that we were missing. By peace, I mean calmness, not like a puzzle piece. Maybe both. After my graduate school, I moved to the Bronx, and I worked at Fordham University. So at my first professional job, technically, my first experience in a professional setting was during an internship that I did over the summer at St. Mary's College over in Moraga, California, near San Francisco. I was drawn to a religiously affiliated institution. When I went in for my professional employment and I started looking for jobs, I was drawn again to another religiously affiliated institution. After a year at Fordham, there was a couple of things that I didn't agree with, but with a year at Fordham, I ended up moving here to Sacred Heart, another religiously affiliated institution. And I think that was for a reason. Because my faith is very strong. While I'm still questioning things in my faith, and I'm still on my faith journey at 30 years old, I'm still on it, and you will be throughout your life, I've realized the importance that faith is put in my life. God is putting me in certain spaces for a reason. And that reason is because each of these institutions I've gone to focuses on understanding the whole self. So if you come to me and you want to meet with me in my office, and let's say we have a meeting and it's supposed to be, I don't know, let me go back to my Res Life days and we were meeting about student conduct, right? That's not my meeting with you. When you come into my office, yeah, I'm going to address student conduct with you, but I'm going to also want to know, how are you? What's going on in your life right now? How is school? How's your academics? How's your family? I want to know everything about you, because guess what? All of those pieces of you intersect in everything that you do here. Everything that you do in life, everything intersects with one another. And I learned that a lot, and I loved that about working here at this institution, because I'm not the only one that does that. A lot of my colleagues will meet with you because they care. And you can't fake that. You can't fake that authentic caring and compassion with people. And I think that's what's really empowering, right? And that should be the crux of what we're talking about as our faith, right? Caring about each other. So let me talk to you a little bit about the social justice aspect, right? Because you're probably like, all right, Amanda, great. You talked a lot about your life, but how does this connect back to, social justice and what we were talking about? All of the identities and all of the things that we were talking about is all related to social justice. Even if you're talking about the religious stance that you take, if you are thinking about the different identities that you have, they all relate back. One of the things that I was talking about earlier in this talk was the fact that I sometimes was influenced by things that I was seeing in the media and understanding what was happening. Some of the things that I question and I get stuck on is, okay, why do I see my black and brown brothers and sisters that are in the community having less than others? Why do I have privilege in being cisgendered, but those that don't align with that don't? The point of social justice and the intersection of all of this is that you should question. Question things that are happening around you and why they're happening. Part of having faith, and for me, about being a Christian, is that I love everyone that is around me, and I genuinely care about the well-being of everyone that I interact with. And I start to ask myself, okay, why does this process exist? Who is this benefiting? And who is it excluding? And that is the crux of what we talk about as a Christian, right? You want everyone to be a part of the community, and you want everyone to be like close and family, right? So you should be asking those questions about who is being left behind and how can we help them. And so that's what I kind of wanted to get across today, is hopefully that during your time here, that you take the opportunity to get to know who you are. Get the time to understand what your identities are, how they play a role in your life, what privileges you might have, and what you don't. You're here at an institution where you're meant to learn and to grow, right? But it's not just in the classroom. It's outside too. Know that there are resources here for you. There's people here for you. You want to explore what your religion actually means to you? Go to campus ministry. Go and talk to them. Go and find out what other religions are there, because I'm just curious. Go ahead and ask that. You want to know a little bit more about different identities in terms of racial identities, ethnic identities? Go to Multicultural Affairs. Go talk to Rob Johnson. He'll be able to help guide you and point you in the right direction. Don't forget that your professors are also extremely knowledgeable too. Some of them are going to have degrees that are related to different fields, whether you want to learn about women's studies or whether or not you want to understand a little bit more about the LGBT community. There are people here that are willing to talk to you about those things, me being one of them. Find people who are passionate about this work to start questioning things with, because this is your time. This is your time to soak up the 4 years and be able to ask all of those questions that you can. And I think that's it.
If anyone has questions for Amanda at this time, feel free to raise your hand, speak out.
Hopefully everyone can still hear me with my mask on. No questions?
Yeah, you talked about your faith transformation. How do you see the God of your childhood different from now or in your 20s, like that you said you had a moment?
Yeah.
So what is the basic difference, the God of childhood from the God that you experience now you live?
That's a great question. So I mentioned how I was kind of struggling with what that looks like. So I used to be Roman Catholic, but now I more identify as Christian. And a lot of that is because while my mom believes in saints and I believe in saints, I don't choose to pray to saints. And so I feel like there is a difference there. And so I still believe in the same concepts that my mom does in regards to believing in God, believing in Jesus, and believing in the power of the Trinity. But the way that I choose to practice is a little bit differently. Our family, we are still in the process of finding a church. We tend to just come here. Because we're watching online or we're tending to come here just because it's in our backyard and it's closer to our homes because my daughter was baptized here. But we are trying to look for something that is more similar to the church that I was a part of when I was growing up. Anyone else?
What do you mean? Not everybody knows the 12 grapes? I've been living in a lot.
I know, right? Well, funny that you say that. My friend group now does the 12 grapes because when I had a New Year's Eve party one year, I was just doing them for myself, and everyone's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, I'm eating 12 grapes at midnight. I have to do this." And they're like, wait, you have to explain this. And when I did, they're like, "Well, do you have enough for all of us?" And so now all of them do it. So the group that usually gets together for New Year's, they all do their grapes, and then they send pictures to my mom to say, "We did our grapes."
So what are you doing differently so your daughter doesn't feel that disconnection
We cut hers in half, but. That's a wonderful question. So I'm actually gonna just take this off because I feel like I'm getting overheated. So I do not label Peyton as Latina. I want her to decide that. Just like how her name, we chose a gender neutral name for her, Peyton Quinn, because if for some reason when she gets older that she decides that she doesn't identify as female, that is one less obstacle that she will have to overcome in terms of changing her name. And so some of the things that we do in our house is making sure that we're an inclusive household. So we make sure that all of her reading books include bilingual, well, not all of them, but like we have bilingual books. We have biracial books, so we have different races represented. We make sure that she has a good education in terms of a well-rounded education that includes everything. My mom will speak to her in Spanish. I will sometimes speak to her in Spanish, so she knows she's in trouble when I'm talking to her in Spanish. And I am also trying to learn Spanish because I have also realized, I was like, there was a disservice done when I was younger, taking my language away. And so now I have an app on my phone that I'm trying to teach myself how to speak, so that way I can speak it to her. Her daycare also teaches her Spanish as well, so she comes home and teaches me Spanish. What other things? No one else? Yes? Absolutely. So first figure out the best way that you learn. So like, for instance, if you know that you can't pick up a book and you can't read 56 books in a year, don't pick up a book and read. It's not going to be something that is going to be enough for you to be able to get through. Take a look at podcasts. Take a look at different documentaries that are out. So if a really great documentary that's on Netflix right now is 13th. So if you want to learn a little bit more about mass incarceration and how that connects back to race, I really highly recommend that documentary. There's also other ones about Central Park 5. There's a variety of different opportunities there that you can be able to get that visual if you wanted to be able to learn that way. In terms of books, there's a ton of books that you can be able to read as well. If you want resources, let me know. But I do know that the Student Life Office ended up opening up a diversity library as well. So if you're looking for a book that is regarding something along an identity realm, feel free to go there and tap into their resources. And if they don't have something for a particular identity or thing that you're looking to be able to read a little bit more on, ask them. I'm sure that they'll want to be able to diversify their library a little bit more. Anyone else?
You're here for 6 years, and I come across that, I worked in university as a chaplain before.
Mm-hmm.
Many students come to me and say that I'm struggling with my faith, I don't want to come back to church. So what advice you give to the students who are struggling, that there are students, whether Christian or any faith they belong. So what is the one advice that you give to the students? They say, I'm struggling with my faith, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in church. From your own personal experience, what is the one advice you tell them?
To be honest, that has to be a conversation. That has to be a one-on-one conversation with that student to be able to understand why. And not in a judgmental tone and not in a way that it's, oh, you have to come back. Talk to me about what happened. When did you lose faith? What was the moment that made that happen? Because I think that by me reflecting on that, made me realize when it happened, right? And I started realizing that it was certain things that I was struggling with and I didn't have the support to better understand. And so if I had that sense of support to be able to have a conversation back and forth about what it means without the pressure of having to rejoin, I probably would have gotten back involved much quicker. I still went to Mass, but I didn't feel that sense of community as what I did prior. And so I think that would be the thing that I would mention to whoever's on the other side of that, is to make sure that you're talking with that student and finding out how you can be able to reconnect with them. What was that moment that made things change? It's also, for that student, I guess I would also give them the advice of, you don't have to go back with 2 feet. Take it slow. Maybe you go to Agape Latte for a minute. Maybe you go to something else that is happening on campus to kind of bring in some conversation. Maybe you go and talk to the different religions that are available and get a little bit of an understanding of, all right, let me talk to the imam, let me talk to the rabbi, let me talk to a priest, let me talk to a campus minister, let me find out what all of these religions are telling me. And do a little bit of research on it before you completely give it away. Anything else? I think it's good. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciated it.
Thank you everyone for coming. I believe that there are some treats in the back now. We also have shirts for everyone and stickers and pins, so feel free to grab some. But thank you all for coming. Thank you. Was it okay? It was perfect.
It was? Yes.